Let's start our session today. Our topic of session today is distribution of period cost among the production departments, or if an organization is producing um, two or more types of products or different types of products, so how they can allocate their period cost to each product. So that's our topic. The main idea behind this topic is that there are many departments in an organization and a corporation. Those are not directly producing any good, like a HR department, like an IT department, or a maintenance department. So these departments are not directly contributing towards the product cost, but their cost has to distribute among the product or the department, those who are producing direct or involved in the direct production. So how we distribute the cost of these departments, which are supporting or services department, to the main production department. So that's the main idea we're going to discuss in this session. And let's start with the sharing of PowerPoint, and then we see. So period cost application, that's the topic or the name of the chapter we are going to discuss here. What are the learning outcomes for this chapter, that what we want to get finally from this discussion? Understand the four purposes of period cost allocation and the four criteria to justify the method to allocate the non-manufacturing or the period costs. So we're going to discuss in detail these four different purposes, and as well as the four criteria to justify the method to allocate these costs, which are not direct costs. Evaluate and select a single and a dual rate cost method to apply period cost of support services. So then we will talk that there are two ways that we can allocate these costs to cost of supporting departments or services department to the production department. One is single rate. It's apply only one rate to the cost of services department, whether it is a fixed cost or a variable cost. We apply the same rate and distribute their or allocate their cost to the production department. There is a dual rate system in which we use two different rates, one for fixed cost of services department and one for variable cost for of the services department. And so analyze how the selection of the single or dual allocation rate affect the calculation of efficiency variance. So that's also one of the way that which single rate or a dual rate, which one is the better, and how they affect the efficiency variance. Evaluate and some select among the direct, step down, and reciprocal method of allocating supporting deviant cost to productive deviance. Now, these are the three main ideas that we're going to learn. This is the main ideas. One is that what method we're going to use to distribute the supporting division or services division towards the production division. And the first one is direct method. Like we allocate the each support department cost directly to the division department cost. And we can apply both a rate, dual rate or single rate, to the direct method as well. And then we use a reciprocal method. Like first we distribute the cost of a one service department to all other departments, including other services departments. And then we divide the cost of the remaining service department towards the production department. So this is what we call it as a step down method. And then the reciprocal method, simultaneously we are distributing the cost of these services department to the production department. And we do this with the equation. We establish the simultaneous equations of these departments and then solve it to get the answer for allocation of these costs towards the production departments. The last one is analyze the cost allocation procedure to apply a common cost. Now, there are some costs which are common, and how we divide that standalone or a single event cost, how we divide that single event or a common cost among the different departments or among the different producers. So that's a way we're going to distribute or learn that how we can divide those ways. So there are two methods. for that as well. Now, why do we need to allocate this period cost or period cost application? So this is a learning objective one. Four possible reasons to allocate a period cost appropriately are to provide information for economic decision. So as we repeatedly saying that management or a managerial accounting, uh, the objective of this accounting is to provide the accurate information to the management to make uh, better decisions, better economic decisions, those decisions in which there is an economic sense in it. So for that reason, it is very important that we have to allocate these supporting, uh, whether it's a downstream or upstream supporting departments. We have to allocate the cost of these departments to the product or the production department in as appropriately as much possible. The reason, if we not allocate these costs appropriately to each product or each production department, what is going to happen is that the cost of some products are overstated and cost of some products are understated. And when we are making decision to price those products, so there is a possibility that we can made an error, and because of this error, the institution is going to suffer. Now, the point is this, that the bottom line is not going to change. If there is a cost, the cost is going to be at the end deducted from their revenues to get a net income or a operating income for any organization. Yes, we agree that the bottom line is not going to change. But the important point is that we want to calculate the true cost of every product so that we can price them, and as well as we can generate more profit from each product accordingly. So that's a one purpose or one objective of doing this period cost allocation appropriately. Motive managers and employees. So when within an organization we can promote a healthy competition. Like some are working for one product, some are working for other products. So their own products profit is also important from them to boost up their morale or boost up the healthy competition among the different product. Like we know that in a big organizations, there is a divisions, like one division is taking care of one particular product, and the other division is taking care of the other product. So they are in a slight competition among themselves. So if it is not properly allocated, then there is a possibility that they have a reason that this cost is not properly allocated. For that reason, my profit of my product or my division is less as compared to the other one, because the period costs are not allocated effectively. So we have to be careful in that, and that is going to give us the motivation to justify other costs or reimbursement internally or externally. And if the period cost is not allocated effectively or appropriately, then there is a possibility that the departments can think, like, if we outsource that to the other institutions and we can get this service more cheaper as compared to what internally is charging. So that can be also possible. So it is important to create a justification for this. Now, as per accounting standard for private enterprises, ASPE, or International Financial Reporting System, compliant income and assets for report to external parties. So we have to also taking care of these standards for accounting standards for financial reporting. Uh, So these are the possible reasons or logic that we have to keep it in mind while dividing these period cost among the divisions. Now, what are the criteria that we have to keep it in mind when we are dividing? After identifying the purpose of cost allocation, managers and management accountants must decide how to allocate costs using the following criteria. The first one is cause and effect. There must be some relationship. If there is no relationship, then there is no need to charge the cost of that particular event or particular uh, uh, item or a department or a service if there is no relationship for that. So there must be those who are deciding, they must have to keep it in mind, or they have to develop a logic that there is a cause and effect relationship, like advertisement expense or hiring people, the expenses to hire people. So they have to see that is there any hiring goes towards the particular department, and if the advertisement is very for a very particular product, so the other product that's charge of the it should not be charged to the other product. So that's the reason that there must be a cause and effect relationship. The second criteria which we can use if we want to divide the cost or apply the cost of this period cost, uh, benefit received, like the one who is getting more benefit from that should pay more. That's the way that we can get it. So we can analyze the sales and all these things and see that, okay, if we are advertising in general, the company promotion and the product, the sales of this product is increasing, so they have to contribute more towards this campaign of advertisement campaign as compared to other products. So that's a way that we have to see that who is getting more benefit, who is getting less benefit. Fairness of or equity, we have to keep it in mind, the fairness, that it should be fairly distributed, not any type of biasness in the distribution of cost to favor someone or to and penalize or penalize someone else. The last one is the ability to bear. Even if these all criteria are fulfilling, but we have to keep it in mind that ability to bear. That if some products are very in their infancy, like in the very earlier stages of development, we cannot charge the massive campaign or HR department massive expenditure on those products which are very new or very in the start of their uh, cycle. We have to distribute in a way that those who are really able, like those who are in their stage of maturity, they have to pay more, and because their ability to pay more is there. So we have to see keep all these four logics or reasonings for which we can allocate the application cost, uh, uh, period cost application. Now, as I mentioned, that the whole organization can be divided into two main groups or two main divisions based on what job they are doing. So the one is a supporting or a service department, provides the services that assist other departments in the company. And one is operating or a production department, directly add value to the production or services. Like in a car manufacturing, there are many departments like designing and um, research. This is a upstream, and then downstream is that after sales services and after sales support to the customer and all these things. So this is the downstream services. So, but these are not directly taking part in the production. And there's a in the middle there's a production department, those who are doing manufacturing or assembling and painting and finishing and quality control and all these things, and then reach to the marketing department. And marketing is also a service department, that's marketing, and then reach to the customer. And after that, customer may contract for their warranty or repair or all these things. So these are again the service department. So we can divide the departments into two: support and as well as production. Now, as I mentioned, that there are two ways that we can allocate the cost of these services department, because the services department are not the revenue generating department, because they are not they are not adding value to the product, but they are adding value to the customers as well. But the product is when we sell the product, the revenue we are generating is considered to be in every organization is that's a production department achievement or the production department. So how we can allocate the cost of these departments to the product or the production department? There are two ways. Like one is single rate to sum up the cost of these services department altogether, whether it's a fixed cost or a variable cost, and then divide it. This is what we call it as a single rate. Allocate cost in each cost pool service department to cost object, which is production department, using the same rate per unit of a single allocation base. One rate. The dual rate method is saying that segregate cost within each cost pool into two segments of variable cost pool and a fixed cost pool, and each pool use a different cost allocation base to divide that cost towards the production or production department. Now, single rate method is a simple to implement, but treats fixed cost in a manner similar to variable cost. So it's simple, it's easy to apply because it is a single rate, although they are treating the fixed and the variable cost equally, so which is not true. So that's a problem, but it's easy to implement. Dual rate method treat fixed and variable cost more realistically, but it is more complex to implement. So that's a easy. Now there is a one example we're going to discuss in detail that example in order to understand the whole idea. Now here there are there is a firm who is producing two types of computers, and this information is there to explain their operations. So let's start. The So this firm has a manufacturing cost of IT infrastructure. That's a cost. Total capacity available 1200 IT hours. Master budget quantity in hours. Now these are the two products: notebook division budget and peripherals division budget. Now peripheral and notebook are two different products of this corporation or firm. Total and this IT department is providing 8,000 IT hours to notebook division and 4,000 IT hours to peripheral division. So the total hours available is 12,000. Unitized fixed cost. If we want to find out unitized fixed cost, we divide this and we get it here 250 per unit hour. So this is a cost, and when we divide it with the 1200, we get it 250 per hour. And budgeted variable cost, which is the 6,000 minus 8,750 hours, relevant range is $200 per IT hour. So it's a variable rate, budgeted variable rate. In actual, they use 900 hours of IT. These are the budgeted figures by notebook division and 3,000 IT hours for peripherals. And altogether is the same like a budget value, like a budget is 12,000. So actual is 12,000. And these are the rates. Total average IT cost allocation rate is 450 per IT hours, like fixed cost and variable cost. So fixed cost is 250 and variable cost is 200 per unit per IT hours, and altogether is 450, which we can apply in a single rate. Now we see here that budget IT single rate is 9,000. So 9,000 is an actual hours used by the notebook division. So nine hours is a single rate method. So 9 hours multiplied by 450. That is going cost is going to allocate to out of this 5,400 is going to allocate towards the notebook division. And peripheral is using 3,000 IT hours multiplied by 450, 1.350 million allocated to peripheral division. So by this way, we see here, we see these application, and all together when we sum up, we get at this value, which is again the budgeted value of 5.4 million. Now, if we are applying dual method. And dual method means that we apply for variable rates separately and for uh, fixed rates separately. So we see that net notebook division fixed cost on the budgeted. So fixed cost is always distributed on the budgeted value. So budgeted is 8,000. 8,000 multiplied by 250. So we get it like the fixed one is 2 million. And variable cost is based on actual 9,000 multiplied by 200. So we see here that the variable cost is 1.8 million. And by this way, the total cost of the IT department is distributing towards the notebook of division and the peripheral division. So notebook is getting a notebook division is getting a 3.5, 3.8 million. And when peripheral division 4,000 budgeted into 250, that's a fixed 1 million. Variable cost 3,000 multiplied by 200, so 600. So we get by this way. Uh, as I mentioned, the bottom line is not changing. What's changing is, so here you see the difference, whether we apply the dual method or a single rate method or a dual rate method. So we see there's a significant or a reasonable difference. So if we are applying single method, the notebook division is getting a cost of 4.05 million. But if we apply a dual rate method, then the notebook division is getting a 3.8. So it's a difference of about $200,000. 250. And similarly, definitely the peripheral is getting a less in dual, more in dual method as coming, because this is a redistribution. It's not decreasing the cost, but it's redistribution among the two products. So the single rate method, we can conclude from this example, like, which is interesting to note here. Transform IT fixed cost to a variable cost in the user department, transferring unfavorable spending variance from IT to user. So transform IT's fixed cost to a variable cost in the user department and transfer unfavorable spending variance from IT to users. So internal users will not pay 450 per IT hours if they have the option to outsource. So as I mentioned that then if the cost is not, so they can think over the outsourcing of that. So the dual rate method motivate honest capacity use estimates and identify the opportunity cost of outsourcing when capacity is available. Now, under either method, allocation of support cost can be based on one of the following three scenarios. Now, these are three different scenarios we can use to allocate our support cost. The one is budgeted overhead rate and budgeted hours. So we can use only budgeted rate, budgeted hours to distribute the cost among the production department or among the product, these period costs. So budgeted overhead rate and actual hours. Actual overhead rate and actual hours. So these are the three different scenarios, or we can say. So choosing between actual and budgeted rate, budget is known at the beginning of the period. So budget is easy in the way that we already know before the start of the period, but uh, the actual one is available only after the period. So that's actual will not know with a certainty until the end of the period. Now this table is explaining all these three methods what we discuss. So we see here this is an actual usage, and there are three different scenarios. We are assuming that they are using whatever is proposed in the budget, and in another scenario the peripheral is using more than the budgeted, and in the third scenario, the third case, we are saying it is using less than the and notebook is fixed, like they are using whatever they proposed. Now if we are using a budgeted cost on expected demand, that the budgeted, so we just multiply, you know, that we calculated 250 per hour for this. So we multiply 450 with 8,000, so we get it 2 million and 1 million. So we are dividing basically 3 million cost among these uh, and then we multiply 250 with so this is a 2 million, 2 million, but 7,000 hours, so 1,750, and then it's a 50. So we see this is the way that it works for budgeted cost based on expected demand. Budgeted cost based on practical capacity. Now, practical capacity we didn't discuss here. The practical capacity of this organization is this IT department is to provide a capacity of maximum is 18,750. Now we divide this 3 million. We want to distribute this 3 million amount among the two departments. Divide this 3 million with the capacity hours to get it up per hour. And then we use these hours again to get on the basis of this capacity per hour. And we see that this is again the same. There is no change, but this peripheral is changing quite from one scenario to another. And then we take a allocation of a budget total fixed cost. Now, fixed cost we distribute it in a way that 2 million and 8,000 divided by 8 plus we adding up these two and then divide the total cost of 3 million. So we see here that in case of a C, 8,000 divided by 12,000 into 3 million. So 2 million and 1 million is a very similar like the other one. And then 8 divided by the sum of these two hours, like 15,000 hours into 300. So we get these values. And then 7, we get this one and this one, these values. And then in the case of this 10, and when we divide, so 24 and 6. So effect of variation in actual usage or fixed cost allocation to operating division. So we see that how different methods with different policies or different way to make decision that, okay, we want to use this method to allocate the period cost among the different products, that is going to change their overall cost. So we see that the cost is changing too much here, you see, and here as well. So we can conclude from there like that these methods are very important to understand and allocate the cost appropriately among the products.